Hey everyone, welcome to the HASHR8 podcast. I am the Bitcoin Broski. Today's going to be a fun one. We've got an awesome show. We did a show with the Pool Boys a few months ago, and it was one of our most downloaded episodes. So we decided to run it back. So I'm joined today by Ed Evanson, Ethan Vera, and Alejandro De La Torre. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Doing very well, thanks.
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having us on again.
You recruited one of us last time. I think if we run this back in a few months, who are you going to take next? I think I'd take Alejandro over Ed.
I would go with that choice as well. It's probably the best move.
Oh man, don't tempt me, guys. Don't tempt me.
I think it's also a good move.
Look, we're missing Thomas Heller, who's on the last show. He's since moved on to better things than Bitcoin mining pools. No, but guys, it's awesome to have you on the show again. We don't really have an agenda, so if you're watching this or listening to this on the podcast, hopefully you have as much fun listening as we have trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. But there's just so much news that I have a lot of respect for these three. I think they do, their jobs very well, yes, but also a very good job of keeping their pulse on what's going on in the industry. So there's really not three better people that you could have on a show to talk about what's going on in Bitcoin mining. So we're gonna get started with just kind of a general overview of what's going on in mining today. Like all of you guys, all three of you have new and unique offerings that you're providing to add value to the users that are on your pools and attract new users. So why don't we go around and talk about that a little bit? I'll start this off with a little shill time. So Ed, let's start with you. Talk about Braiins. Alejandro, I know you guys have got some financial services that you're working on, and then Ethan, as much as you can talk about what you guys are working on with regards to the HASH8 products, I think we can take it down that path. So Ed, kick it off, man.
Yeah. So most recently, so Braiins, for Braiins OS, we've been running the S9 firmware for a while now, and I guess the latest development would be that the firmware for the S17 models is out in the wild right now. We ran some pretty extensive tests in our own machines, and now it's out there in data centers on a larger number so we can gather more data and make sure it's as good as possible for the full official release. So that's basically happening imminently. Lots of positive responses to that, and it kind of just plays into a larger ecosystem build strategy that we're doing, where we try to offer as close to a full mining stack as possible without the hardware itself. So, firmware, whether it's open source or closed source tuning, the pool, Stratum v2 proxy for an upgraded mining protocol, as well as a couple other products we'll be releasing fairly soon. One that I'm particularly excited for at Q1 of 2021. That's kind of what we're up to, just trying to create new and better software for miners to optimize their data centers, reduce operational expenses, and get more life out of their machines.
Okay, so now there we go.
Sorry,
now that the sales pitch is done, let's dive in on this. And you're all going to get it. No one's safe from this, by the way. So
I like the ecosystem play where you sell that complementary service, being the firmware with the mining pool, and you guys have bundled it well, offering that discount on the pool side. What's like the percentage of miners that are both using firmware and pool? And do you have miners that will just use the firmware and not your pool?
Yeah, so we have a large number of miners that actually don't use the pool and decide just to use the firmware, because a lot of times miners will have very special arrangements with their pool, not necessarily with fees, but custom deals. Say like maybe the pool has provided some back-end infrastructure for them to sell hash rate contracts to some clients, maybe retail in their local region. That's just one example. Maybe they've built them a very specific proxy that they need for their operations. Maybe they just have really good relationships with the people at that specific pool. But our firmware has grown significantly, especially in the last couple months. We're on pretty much every pool that I can think of.
Including pooling?
And I'd say actually it's probably slightly more that use the firmware without our pool than use our firmware with the pool.
Isn't that an issue for you guys? I mean, how do you?
How is it an issue?
Well, don't you want the people using your firmware to switch to your pool? Is there some sort of incentive?
Yeah, there's definitely incentives. We can pretty much play around with pool fees to any extent if you use the firmware, I guess is the not so subtle way to put it. But no, so like the idea behind the firmware was not only to kind of expand the verticals, but also to make us more sticky to our clients, because we see the pool industry in general as kind of being, I mean, everyone's known about the race to the bottom and fees for a while now, but we also don't see mining pools just as themselves existing for much longer. In fact, that's already pretty much the case currently. I think F2 pool is probably the only pool out there currently that's just doing the pool. So I don't see them retaining the same amount of market share as they do now, say like 3 years from now. But the idea of making us more sticky to our customers is if we use if the customer uses our firmware, they don't have to, we don't really care what pool they use at that point. If they have a specific preference for a pool that's not ours, we can still provide them a great service, make their machines more efficient, better margins, as well as allow them to run them longer. There were a lot of people using it on the S9 that had to turn off their machines because they weren't profitable, but now with the efficiency boost, they can get under that cost, break-even cost. So if we can improve their mining operations, collect a fee on that service, as well as fund all our open source projects through that fee, which is what a large percentage of that fee goes to, then all the better.
So you do charge a fee if they're using the firmware?
Only the closed source version with the auto tuning. For every piece of hardware we support on the firmware, there's 2 versions. There's Braiins OS, which is the completely free open source version that, you know, if you have some development talent, you can go in and make some custom features. I've run into people that have created support from our open source version for Canon models, for some WhatsMiner models, some Bitmain models that we don't yet support. So there's a lot of development activity already on that. But then the other version would be Braiins OS Plus, which has a couple extra features, as well as the main feature being the auto tuning algorithm that, given a certain power consumption input, will adjust the frequency and voltage to the hash boards and actually tune it per chip to make sure they're running at the best possible efficiency per power limit you set. So you can underclock or overclock and make more money, basically, to put it simply.
Well,
that one has the fee.
Just to add what Ed said, I think the mining pool business already has evolved into each pool having their own, you know, unique set of extra features. Like Poolin, for example, we've been focusing more on the financial product side of things because, you know, historically speaking, miners, especially miners in regions of the world where, you know, the financial ecosystem of that country or that region is not very good, we can now provide, you know, lending, borrowing, and interest earning possibilities for these miners. And it has been extremely popular for our miners. By the way, I'm outside of my my garden of my office, so sorry for not being inside. It's too dark inside my office, so I'm outside. But in any case, I think financial products and just some sort of differentiating factor between mining pools ultimately gives miners much more, you know, choice. That's good for the ecosystem, right? If the miner has S9, for example, or and wants to have a, you know, underclock and auto tune, whatever it is, then Slushpool might be a good choice. If it's a big miner and they want to, you know, want to even make more money on their Bitcoin that they mine, then, you know, Poolin might be a good choice because we provide these options for them. So that's the case. Of course, Luxor is doing on the hash rate stuff. I'm sure Ethan will explain more about that. But
really quick, Alejandro, before
yeah.
I wanted, let's talk about the financial services in a little bit more detail. So and you guys are partnered with 3 Arrows on this, is that right?
Correct. We're partnered with 3 Arrows Capital, CyberX, and a handful of other big big trading,
Mhm.
financial,
Yeah.
crypto financial companies. But of course, Three Arrows Capital is the most prominent, and it's the one we're most proud to be working with, because, well, we're not the most proud, but we're proud with every single
Sure.
partner. But these guys are on a different league. I mean,
Yeah.
so with these guys, we structure the products and we create good trading, good trading programs to make even more money for our miners. We provide flexible and locked interest earning accounts, and then Three Arrows Capital is the one that figures out what is the best way to do these to get the most amount of percentages for our miners. So we're extremely lucky to be working with these guys who then give our miners more money. So it's that's what it is.
So when you're talking about financial services, it's basically just, lending products, borrowing against Bitcoin, things that'll help with float and operational expenses, things of that nature. Or are there unique
Correct.
products that you guys are offering that maybe aren't necessarily available, that are specialized and structured specifically for miners?
At the moment, not necessarily, but what the advantages of doing of using these products on Poolin is that the Bitcoin comes directly into the wallet, the Poolin wallet. So there's no need for hops between other wallets. There's no need for moving to perhaps untrusted source, third party. You're already using the reputation that we have built. You're safe with us, and it gives the miners it's basically on house basically. So that's
Gotcha.
that is the ease of use, and of course we're working with the biggest financial crypto companies like Three Arrows Capital and whatnot that are also highly reputable. So yeah.
So, I mean, HASH8 has gotten a lot of requests for access to Virgin coins, right? So for you three, I'm sure you hear it often. I'm sure there's a demand for these Virgin coins outside of just people coming to HASH8, right? Like we're not a pool, so I'm sure you guys hear these requests more than I do. What's the play there? For you guys, I mean, Ed, this is going to be different, your answer compared to Ethan and Alejandro's, just because of the pool structure. But how do you guys handle the Virgin coin requests?
Well, for us, usually if you get Virgin coins with us, that's the case with Poolin. Of course, if you start doing we have other features like auto hash rate switch, which then will we on the back, we have some advanced algorithm that switches around the SHA-256. In that case, you'll be receiving coins that are not necessary, that are from an exchange, because we automatically sell the BCH and BSV soon, and then we send the exchange coins to our miners. But if you're not using this option, you will be getting Virgin coins with Poolin.
But aren't they can't be Virgin, right? Because it's still one step. Like they still get deposited in Poolin's wallet, and then you guys pay out on like a full paper share method, right? So if you look at those coins, they're still going to have like one transaction history on them.
Yeah,
those still count though as like quote unquote clean coins or Virgin coins.
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
So.
They don't.
Yeah, no, they do. They do. I mean,
Okay,
of course, there's other options, right? I mean, but
there's discrepancies.
It's one hop. There's one hop.
Yes,
it's one hop, and like Poolin's a trusted company, so there's some people that would count that as Virgin. But I think ultimately, like the idea of Virgin is it gets deposited directly from the Coinbase, zero transaction history, and so that like the concept of that is that you don't need to trust any company, whether they're reputable or not. And the only way to do that is to do something like what Ed is doing at Slush, which is like PPLNS, and you're paying people out based on like the actual reward versus expected. But then you also have to put in all those addresses into the actual mining process and deposit it straight into those addresses from the Coinbase. So I think even Slush, you guys probably like have one step in between too, right?
Yeah, I mean, like in some cases, yes, but we also had like a Virgin coin, Bitcoin block deal going on with Bobby Lee from
Yeah.
Ballet, because he was selling whole like titanium blocks that had a whole block reward in them. And there was high demand before halving when it was still 12.5 BTC.
The top is not in, my
block.
friends. The top is not in.
Yeah.
Titanium blocks. Okay,
It's a really cool product, right? Like especially as like a collectible. Some people
Yeah.
kind of question its use as a real cold storage wallet, and there's always some cyberpunk-esque person online willing to detract it as not like the perfect cold storage or whatever, but that doesn't necessarily need to be what it's intended for. So we've done it directly from Coinbase into these Bitcoin blocks that Bobby made, and then we have the ability to do it as well via our pool. But in most cases, it will go from the Coinbase to our cold storage, and then directly into the miner's wallet. So there's no, I mean, in most cases, I would say like 99% of cases and 99% of the people interested in a coin like that, that will still count as a clean coin or a virgin coin. There may be some purists, Ethan among them, that would debate that and say that it doesn't count, but in the market, it still counts, right? It would still command a premium that
I'm not
from a mixer one.
Okay, so guys, I'm not really even asking about the premium, right? I think the premium for the virgin coins is one thing, but I think the premium exists because the virgin coins are free from any kind of OFAC, messiness, we'll say. I think that's the people who are really looking for the clean transaction history are, people who want to hold it at an institutional level and want to make sure that they're holding something that isn't going to be later tied back to nefarious activities, whatever it is. Right. So in those situations, I mean, there's not really a way to guarantee that there's no OFAC hash or OFAC transactions that are being included in these blocks. Right.
There is a way. I mean, you can actually blacklist out those addresses when you're building your block. And so I think we're going to start to see.
But is that being done now?
It's being worked on. There is an American pool coming out, a North American pool coming out that will be blocking out OFAC sanctioned addresses from the block itself, from the transactions included in the block.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
which
I know what you're talking about.
Which pool is that? Which pool is that then?
But I think like
that was good.
Shifting gears here. Honestly, I don't think the virgin coins is that big of a push right now. There's this rumored premium. You may be able to get it with a couple buyers, but it's definitely not mainstream. I think like the stuff that Alejandro's doing at Poolin and like that type of integration with 3 Arrows is it's becoming a lot more mainstream, and that's really what's going to drive financial services. So the way I break it down is like leveraging balance sheet, which is like lending products, which is like what Poolin and 3 Arrows does, where basically you lend, 3 Arrows takes that money and then they do whatever they want with it, trade it. They give you like an 8% interest rate or something. There's borrowing, which like miners have historically done with Matrix Port, basically collateralizing your Bitcoin to get more fiat out and pay off your OPEX. You can do like covered calls, which again is leveraging your balance sheet,
right?
Earning some passive income. Because you're naturally long that Bitcoin anyways. Then so that's like that covers the extent of like leveraging your balance sheet. Then you can like hedge your balance sheet through like Bitcoin put options if you like want to go less risk adverse. And then there's like the hedging on like your actual cash flows, which is like hash rate forwards and stuff. So I look at it like those three pillars, which is like leveraging balance sheet, hedging balance sheet, and then hedging cash flows as like the new areas of financial services for miners.
Yeah, and the first point you brought up is a good point. It's still highly undeveloped. There's only a few people that are still really interested enough to command this premium, or rather pay the premium for the clean coins or virgin coins or whatever you want to call them. It's still yet to be really developed, and I can see a place where a market for clean coins doesn't even necessarily exist, because people will be able to purchase hash rate from miners and then get the hash rate physically delivered to them and then get the coin themselves. So like the purchase of clean coins may not really be a thing when you can just purchase hash rate, because it's kind of a easier way to do that. without the premium. In fact, if you purchase a forwards on hash rate, you can likely get a discount on the spot price.
And not only that, I mean, if paying a premium for a coin that has zero historic transactions, a clean coin as they call it, calls into question many things like fungibility aspects and of Bitcoin. And I don't know, I think I'm, philosophically speaking, I'm kind of against this whole clean coin, dirty coin spiel. I mean, okay, if it's a family office, I do understand the reasons why they would want a clean coin or a coin that's just been mined. But I think we should. If there's an interest, of course we can, mine with Pula, and you can get the clean coins, or just go with Slush or whatever it is. But I think it's not very. It's not a very strong, or it's not going to be such a big deal. I hope not. I mean, the transactions that are used, let's say cash, you don't know what happened to what those euros you used or those dollars you used. But the dollar still costs the same, even if I used it for this and the other person used it for that. So I think that's the same way it should be with Bitcoin.
So here
I agree.
my only argument to that is that it can be tracked, so it will. Right. So if the government,
exactly,
that's the only thing is like, as you have the marathons and the riots and the many, many others that are, assuredly going to go public at some point that are mining Bitcoin, the demand and really the requirement for them to be able to track that history. I mean, it's going to become a thing. If you think about like major corporations in the United States, let's say any company that's generating more than, $10 million a year in revenue. I mean, they're reporting everything. If there's mixing or commingling of their funds with, anyone from a no-fat country, especially now with all the sanctions that are going on, that's going to be closely watched. So, I mean, I could definitely see where the demand could come in. I don't know that there will always be a premium on those coins. I think that, that remains to be seen, but I mean, it's going to be curious to see what happens with this pool in North America that comes out that Ethan's being secretive about. That's
the pool that must not be named.
Yeah, the Voldemort pool. Voldemort pool. All right, so look, we haven't really got into this yet, but Ethan, what about Luxor? What are you guys doing to add value to mine? And you guys have been growing. Let's not sleep on Luxor.
Can you give us a walkthrough of the hash rate index, Ethan?
Yeah, Ethan. And let's talk about your sales strategy. What have you been doing to grow your hash rate lately?
Tell us, Ethan. Come on.
I'll share a screen. Yeah. Well, no, I think there's a few interesting things to talk about, and it wouldn't be Wit's podcast if we didn't talk about DeFi. So I think, just ending off the topic about financial services and leveraging balance sheets, DeFi is an area that no mining pools have touched yet, at least not in a big way. I think we might start to see that change. Really, what mining pools are experts in, Slushpool, Pool, and Luxor, is Bitcoin, right? Like we know Bitcoin. And so if we can help miners funnel some of their block reward or miner payout into the Ethereum DeFi ecosystem to then maximize their yield, earn more Bitcoin, that could be like a simple bridge over something like Rapid, like through Ren, and we could potentially leverage those products to earn miners more Bitcoin, which at the end of the day they want. So I think we haven't seen any pool implement like DeFi yields yet into their balance sheets of their miners, but I think that's going to be like probably in the next 6 months we'll start to see that, which is pretty exciting.
The problem with that is that it's so fickle. One day they can be that yield farming could make 10, 20, 100%, and then the next day can make 0. So it's really hard. It's not like we haven't looked at it fully. We've looked at it extensively, and we're keeping an eye on it. But the problem is that it's hard to these projects are very new and they're very untested. I mean, of course, there's a couple guys on Ethereum playing around making good money. Nothing wrong with that. But it's still not untested. I think it hasn't yet passed. At least for pooling, it hasn't yet passed the test of that it's that it can be used. Imagine if we start doing these things and we start sending a lot of transactions through Ethereum, which is already backlogged and whatnot. who knows? And who knows what what the developers. I think they're still not battle worn, battle tested. I should say enough for at least pooling to integrate something like this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's probably why we haven't seen any pools do it to date. We all saw what happened with YAM and stuff. So
Well, okay,
I think
so
it's gonna.
but just to touch on that though, Ethan, like how do you envision that playing out? Like what's your thesis on how pools would get involved? Do you think that they'll actually work on the yield farming side and potentially custody some of those tokens and pay out the yield?
Yeah, so, look, I'm not a DeFi expert. Would probably defer to you for that in this panel. But I think like wrapping your BTC is probably the easiest. Like leveraging existing products, and those products are still being built out right now.
Yeah.
So I don't see it happening in the next like few weeks here, but I think in the next 6 months, like it's on all of our minds. If DeFi continues to have this high of yield, this high of return, you're kind of doing a disservice to your miners by not at least thinking about it. Our job as pool operators is to keep the best interest of our miners. And so we should always be thinking about ways to get them more Bitcoin.
I agree.
So let's talk about that. All right. So you wrap BTC, you mint whatever token. Let's just use DAI as an example. You mint DAI, you use the DAI to, you borrow against the DAI and you purchase ETH with that or Bitcoin with that. And then you go back and you repeat the cycle, right? That's how a lot of these guys make money it's a big circle, right? So they're wrapping a token, or wrapping a coin in BTC or an ETH, they're buying another token with it. They're then putting that token and borrowing against it, buying more of the original coin that they'd wrapped, and then going back and doing it over again. And they're earning yield through that circle. The other alternative is basically, there's a lot of funds out there that are doing like a cost plus carry on these things where, you're giving them 100K and whatever token that you want them to yield farm, or just 100K. And then they're doing that for you and they're paying you basically dividends on what they're, whatever you're farming, which in essence is very similar to staking from like a very, very high level overview. There's a lot of, intricacies to it. So yeah, it would be interesting. It's a completely different business model, right? Payouts are payouts, I guess you could look at it like that, but it's definitely not, it's not the same kind of money in, money out, or hash rate in, money out in the mining pools case. So I don't know, that may be too hard of a pivot.
I think it's the same thing as like leveraging your balance sheet. And so any way that you can make it simple, it's just really bringing the liquidity of your Bitcoin into the DeFi space and then letting other people do the heavy lifting for you. I think it's like, it needs to be very simple at first, like the simplest bridge, and then we'll see from there. But I see it in the same way as like the Three Arrows pool and partnership, where you're now allowing miners, if they want to opt in to leverage their Bitcoin balance sheet and try and earn some yield on it.
Agreed. But I still think we need some time before we can start. Think about it. It's also going to take some personnel or some team members to work on this and take a look at this. It's not simple. It's not that simple. It's a bit complicated.
I can tell you that from Slushpool, we're not even considering it. Like,
no way, you're kidding.
Fully aware of DeFi and what it is, but we're just not interested. Don't expect it from us at any point, really, in the future.
Let's be honest. I don't think anybody would. I think if Slush pivoted into DeFi, that would be there would be some extinction level event going on.
That wouldn't work to brand. That's not the brand Slushpool has built. Yeah.
So guys, what other trends are you seeing right now that are exciting to you? You guys are all paying attention to the market at all times of the day. So what are you looking at right now that
well, one thing that I've been following closely is the 5 nanometer chip foundry, and how Bitmain was included in the list. There's only 7 companies in the whole entire globe that have been included in the 5 nanometer chip manufacturing list, I guess. And it's interesting because my opinion is that in the next couple of years, we're not going to see too much of an improvement in these machines. But if the case that Bitmain does indeed start manufacturing even mining rigs of 5 nanometer chips, then we might still see a huge improvement coming in from Bitmain machines in the next couple of years, which will again cause the whole entire thing that we saw in the last halving, in which old machines had to shut off because of less Bitcoin being recouped, less money being made. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Alejandro. How do you think that's going to play out with like what's happening at Bitmain as a company right now? Like when you say Bitmain has space for the 5 nanometer, is it McCree's Bitmain or is it Jihan's Bitmain that has space?
That's everyone's question. That's everyone's question. I don't know. But
it's Jihan who has the allocation.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, then there you go. At the end of the day, it sucks because like I worked at Bitmain for many years, and I was co-founder of BTC.com, and there's a lot of hard-working, honest people that work at Bitmain, and for them this is horrible, right? They're imagine you're working, you have to pay your bills, you have to put food on the table, and your company is like going in a civil war. So it's I hope for mostly for the employees that this whole entire debacle ends soon.
How?
Except for their pools.
How?
Oh yeah, that sucks. I mean, they can crash and burn.
Collateral damage.
Which was, that's collateral. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, savages! But I mean, how does that end though? I mean, there's no reconciliation, right? Like they're not coming back together.
I don't know. I mean, from what I know is that no one knows. That's all I know. So that's all I can say.
It's being played out in the Cayman court right now. So I think over the next 12 months, maybe longer, we'll have some view on whether there's legal standing to somehow bring back the two sides, bring back the manufacturing lines to Jihan or.
Yeah, as it progresses and it becomes clear maybe who has the advantage in that court case, you may see one participant be more willing to, potentially be bought out or something like that, and it may be resolved even quicker. But I would have expected something like this to have affected the industry and their customers a lot more, but it seems like their bad batches of S17s and T17s that were pretty infamous at this point did more damage to the company and their relationship with their customers than all of this crap that's been happening with them the last 3 months combined. Some people still have decent relationships and are still getting their machines delivered and are fine with buying, the latest generation from Bitmain, despite everything that's going on and the potential uncertainty with it. We've seen huge orders of like a whole month and a half's worth of supply of machines purchased in one go. But just from personal conversations with miners, I've had a lot of conversations from people that received bad batches of 20-30% failure rate, sometimes even 50%, and have said as a result will no longer ever buy a machine from Bitmain. So it's just kind of interesting to see the constant tornado of drama that surrounds that company and what actually miners care about and affects them versus what doesn't.
They seem to have made improvements on the 19s though, right? The 19 seem to be much improved over the 17s. Like I haven't heard. I mean, the 17.
Yeah, in terms of quality, but I mean,
yes.
when you lose 50% of your order to manufacturer, shortcomings and failings, and then you ask for some sort of compensation for that, and in exchange, all you get is some coupons for other machines that, when they're delivered, happen to be sometimes used as well. It's not a good look.
Correct. I gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, I think if WhatsMiner could produce more machines than Bitmain would, it would be all said and done. I think right now Bitmain's just able to keep an operation because, I mean, no one can match their supply, right?
Yeah, their economies of
Right.
scale is impressive. I mean, think about it. They've been manufacturing these machines for many years, so they have the whole entire
Supply chain.
like supply chain well thought out. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the hardware, hopefully we see some development on the hardware front and in the near future. I mean, I heard that there's no more pre-sales on the What's miners until the spring. Bitmain obviously has Bitmain problems. Canaan, I believe they are also operating in a shortage right now, thanks to our buddies at MineBest and Mining City. Potentially, maybe. I don't know. You didn't hear that from me.
No comment.
Wait, is there? I don't remember hearing anything about Canon and MindBest. What's that about?
I don't know. I forget. Yeah, but moving back on to Ed's birthday. No. No, but guys, as we get to wrapping things up here, I'd love if you guys have any last thoughts or any, final shills, have at it. Give you guys a couple of minutes each. The floor is yours.
you know what? Let me start this. I think this is more of a show towards Bitcoin. I think the whole DeFi stuff is all good. Everything's all good, but the amount of investment, the amount of hash rate that continues to grow in Bitcoin is impressive and continues to surprise me to this day. That's such a strong fundamental thing about Bitcoin. So I'm very, very happy to see how mining continues to power this network and continues to allow us to have a job, number one, but also for anyone to use and transact Bitcoin freely. That's it's a beautiful thing. I'm very, very proud of our miners and our mining pool friends over here, although they're kind of not so much friends, but whatever.
All right, Ed, go for it, man.
I'll let Ethan go. We spoke too much last time, and he didn't get a chance to show Luxor. So
there you
go for it, man.
That was so nice.
Ethan.
Well, before I do shilling, I think like a final comment on mining pools, because that's what the panel is about. I think we're on the edge here of another transformative shift in the mining pool industry. Historically, mining pools have always been like single chain. Okay, you point me your Bitcoin hash rate, I'll mine Bitcoin for you. But as we saw with like fee compression over the past year and a half, miners are really profit driven. So mining pools that can leverage smart switching technology and start getting better liquidation, for the miners' hash rate, I think are really going to start to stand out. I would foresee like a future where like maybe 50% of the industry are mining pools just competing on the actual BTC per terahash they pay. And so in that type of environment, they're going to have to get very sophisticated on how they actually build those switching algorithms, and they'll compete based on that. Maybe the other 50% of the network is staying on mining pools for other reasons than just purely hash rate profit. Maybe it's bundled into a service where they also liquidate like something like a Binance package, or maybe it's like Slushpool where they know they're mining Bitcoin and they're more philosophical. But I think there's going to be like a big split there, and we're really at the beginning of that paradigm shift in the mining pool industry. For Luxor, like we just want to be like relentless in pursuing more Bitcoin per hash rate for our miners. So any way we can find them more Bitcoin, that's good for us, and it's good for our miners. And so that's what the strategy we're going to take moving forward. And so as part of that, it's like smart switching to different blockchains, maybe selling it on exchanges, maybe eventually on like hash rate contracts, but whatever it is, like we want to represent our miners and just try and get them the most profit per hash as possible. And so I'm excited to see that play out. And like the last shell I have is like, we just launched a new mining data website called HASH8 Index. We have a bunch of mining stats there, so it's all free to use. We welcome any feedback, so hop over there. If there's anything you want to see, just let me know and we'll try and add it. Thanks for having us on, Whit.
Pleasure. Ed?
Yeah. By the way, I want to add that the Hash8 Index is a great site. I really, really enjoy it. I use it often.
Thanks, man.
Do I have anything to add? No, just
I'm not editing that out.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what was said by Alejandro and Ethan. As far as what Slushpool's doing, I think that over the months of September and October, a lot of people, especially our users, are going to be happy, and we're going to get a lot more attention from people that maybe aren't using some of our services, because we have a ton of things that we're releasing in the form of new hardware support for firmware. We'll probably have like another 3 to 4 models added by sometime in October, a couple being released this month in September, and then also just a complete overhaul of some of our other products. That's some of our better known products that have existed for a while. And it's just going to be a ton of new stuff coming out at a very fast pace. So I'm excited to see what happens over the next couple months. And yeah, so just keep that in mind and keep an eye on us.
Boom. There we go. Pool Boys in the books. This is a good show. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. We'll do it again for sure. It's always good to get you guys on to have these little recaps and these conversations. I appreciate all of you as friends and colleagues, and I'm excited to see how each of your guys' pools grow in your own special ways as you cutthroat savages are out there competing on a daily basis. I'm really glad that I don't have to be in the mix, and I just get to watch.
You don't want to be.
Watch from the side. You're damn right. Like I'm happy to just be on the sidelines and play Marv Albert in this situation. So
thank you, Whit. Thank you, Whit.
Pleasure, guys. So for us here at HASH8, thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button so that you can be notified whenever we go live with new content. If you are listening, please make sure that you subscribe and leave a comment on your preferred podcast platform. And for us here at HASH8, we'll talk to you guys all again very soon. Thanks for watching this episode of HASH8 Podcast, a HASH8 TV production. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more great content like this every day of the week. In addition, feel free to leave a comment below and let us know who you'd like to see on the next episode of HASH8 Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you head over to hash8.com, you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter, Difficulty Adjustment. Every Wednesday morning, we provide you with the latest news and information on Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and mining. Plus, each week, one newsletter subscriber will be selected at random to receive a free Ledger Nano S cryptocurrency wallet. So go ahead and sign up today. Who knows? You may be the next lucky winner. Want more from HASH8? Follow HASH8 TV on Twitter. It's the easiest way to keep track of our newest content all in one place. That's at HASHR8_TV. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Please remember that all content appearing on this or any other HASH8 channel is strictly for informational and entertainment purposes only. You should not construe any such information as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Consult a licensed financial advisor before investing yours or anyone else's money.